Crumbles are heavenly desserts that everyone seems to like, and I'm going to show you today simple ways to make them a bit healthier as a dessert. So the first thing is people add a lot of sugar to the actual fruit mixture that you put in your pan first, and you don't need to. So the best thing to do is to choose a fruit, kinds of fruits that are actually sweet themselves. So apples are sweet, blueberries are sweet. Don't pick really tart things because then you do need more sugar to balance that out. Gala apples and red delicious apples have a very natural sweetness to them. And the important thing to remember is that unfortunately the apples that are in our grocery stores are picked long before they're ready, and the longer an apple stays on the tree, the sweeter it is. So if you can buy them from the farmer's market, even better. So here I've got apples, and that's about 5 apples, chopped into just nice quarters, and some blueberries, about a cup of blueberries. You can use frozen blueberries too, but then you need to put it in the oven for longer. I always like the taste a bit more of fresh blueberries. And then I put half of a lemon, squeeze half a lemon into the apples so they don't brown, but also it gives it a nice flavor. And then you can add a little bit of sweetness. Sometimes I put just about a tablespoon of maple syrup in, but no refined sugar. You don't need it. And a tiny bit of vanilla essence. About 2 teaspoons. Mix it around. And then for the topping, which is where most people add tons of butter and tons of sugar, and you just don't need it. So first start with jumbo gluten-free oats in this case, and I'm gonna put about 2 cups in. It depends if you like a really thick crumble on top or if you like it to be more fruit and thinner on the top. You decide. Put your oats in to start. Then I use almond meal or ground almonds that you can get at most any health food store and more at traditional stores too. And this is a cup of almond meal. If you're using 2 cups of oats, use a cup of almond meal. If you're using only a cup of oats, use a half a cup of almond meal. Then I take walnuts and crush them up in my hands into small enough pieces. Imagine what you're going to want to crunch on when you eat. And that's about a half a cup. You can also use almonds and chop them up. You can use Brazil nuts, any kind of nut that you like. Then I add flax seeds in because you never notice them and they're nutritious. I sometimes make this crumble and it's so healthy that I give it to my kids for breakfast, which they're always thrilled about. Desiccated coconut is the next thing. Buy unsweetened desiccated coconut because you don't need the extra sugar. And this is about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup. I love how this tastes. It also has a lot of texture, so it's wonderful for the crumble topping. Mix that together. Then cinnamon and nutmeg. You can also add cloves if you want a very stronger taste. Cinnamon and nutmeg are always the standards. Then for the sweetener, nothing about refined sugar is going in here, but you can use any assortment of different kinds of sweetener. You can use honey, you can use maple syrup, you can use xylitol or stevia. So today I'm going to use a little bit of xylitol, and you can always read on the back of your package. Xylitol, the name sounds quite synthetic, but it's actually a natural sourced sugar alternative. And I'm just going to use a little bit. This is probably 2 tablespoons. You don't need much, a lot less than you would of sugar. Mix it together. Then you add the coconut oil instead of butter. And you want this to be clumpy because, as you know, the best crumbles have all those bits that you kind of bite into and are crunchy in some parts and a bit more gooey in others. So you kind of break this up with your hands. This is a messy process. Move it around. This is probably 1/2 cup of coconut oil. And then you just blend it into the crumble. Just like that. Scrunch it together so that it gets infused into most of the oats. And add more if you need it. You really can't do this just with a spoon. You kind of have to use your hands. And it's a wonderful thing to get kids involved with too. They love making crumbles and licking all the good bits off their hands as they're doing it. So once that's ready, then you're just gonna place that on top of the fruit. You're gonna have a preheated oven of 180 that you will put this on. So I like a lot of crumble topping on the top. So I put all of this on, and then what I usually do is put a tiny bit more cinnamon and nutmeg sprinkled on the top, and a little bit more desiccated coconut. And then you can also put a few little dabs of coconut oil around because they will absorb and melt in as you heat it up. So 180-degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes. Check it. You don't want it to burn, obviously, but you want it to be a nice golden brown. You can have it for dessert that night. It's also wonderful leftover, so you can eat it for the days to come. And as I said, it's healthy enough that I give it to my kids for breakfast.